Hi, my name is Craig Thompson Wood. I'm the board game teacher. Thanks for coming to the classroom. Today I want to take a look at the second part of my series in looking at designing your own board game, and that is looking at some of the things you might use to design your own board game. So before you go rushing out and buying what you're looking for to make your board game, I think it's important to know what kind of board game you're going to be making. While there are many different kinds of board games out there, and I don't want to limit your imagination, your creativity in terms of what board games you might be thinking about. A lot of board games tend to fall into the category of either a dice game, a board game with an actual board, or a card game which involves cards. Sometimes they can involve all three or even none. There may be games like dexterity games where you're trying to balance things or stack things or whatever. I mean, there's all different kinds of board games, but I'm going to focus on those first three I mentioned, the dice games, the card games, and the board games, and see where that takes us. So once you know what kind of board game you're going to be making, or card game or dice game, for purposes of not having to explain myself or repeat myself all the time, I'm just going to call them board games. So when you know what kind of board game that you're making, it's important to think about what kinds of things you're going to need. And this is again where the dollar store is going to be your best friend. Going to the dollar store and finding games, or pieces to games rather, which are going to be suitable to your needs is going to be an absolute lifesaver. So in looking at some of the pieces I have from the dollar store that I've been using for some games, for example, stickers. I bought different colors of stickers, and then I can put them onto cards and things just to remind myself about something that, okay, the blue sticker means this, the red sticker means this, the red star, or is it the red circle? So maybe you're differentiating between not only color but shape as well. I talked before about these colored cubes and everything. Well, the colored cubes are great ways to make your own dice. Now, if you want regular six-sided dice, you can find those in the dollar store, no problem. You can certainly find sets of those quite cheap. But if you want to make your own, like this one only has ones and twos, and one side is blank. This one has little light bulbs and the word fist on them. I mean, these are for the game that I'm designing myself. But again, that gives by buying these at the dollar store, it gives me the option to make my own and try things out. And the great thing about the dollar store ones too is here is all my rejects of things that I've used, and I decided I don't like the way they're working, so I put them to one side, and I'm holding on to them in case I ever come back to that idea. But for now, I've decided I don't want to, and so away they go. Again, in the dollar store in the craft section, you can find all types of things, including things and components you might use for the game as well. So just depending on whatever it is that your game is that you're making, whatever the theme of the game that you're making, hopefully you have a theme, then you are going to be looking to the dollar store to maybe make it a bit more interesting and exciting to play by having those components which make it just pop that much more. Now, if you know where to look, now there's like a store I go to in Brampton, Ontario called Cardboard Memories, but a lot of different stores, levelup.ca also carries them, is these things called card sleeves. Now, card sleeves, they come in all sorts of different colors here, and actually in different sizes too. So just ask your local distributor if they can get the ones that you need, and just tell them the size that you need. But these are your standard playing card size. And so like I have white, orange, red, white, well I do have red, just not here right now, white, orange, yellow, pink, purple, and I even have clear ones. So these card sleeves are great for me because when I'm designing my game here, it involves cards, and so I have printed off cards using my computer printer, and then I put them into the sleeves. Now, one thing I was finding is that the sleeves were a bit, when I had the cards in there on their own, like this one, you can see it's very flimsy, and it didn't feel very good as you're trying to work with it, manipulate it. So what I'd done is I started taking some playing cards, which I bought from the dollar store, and slipping those into the back, like so. Now it makes the card a lot more sturdy. It's just a very cheap and inefficient way to do this, and to make your cards that much more easy to work with as you're playing with them. Now, as you see with the one card here, I printed this one in color, and I was very foolish at the beginning because I thought my game was pretty good as it was, and I had printed it all off in color. And since then, it's undergone many changes. So eventually, I got smart. I started printing them off in black and white, so that I wasn't using all my colored ink. And even still, I sometimes just write some things down on a piece of paper and stick it in there because you know what? Again, I'm just at the play testing stage right now, so don't think that your game has to look great until it's completely done. So while you're thinking about it, while you're developing it, while the ideas and things are still moving around, just be prepared to just have what we call a prototype copy. It's simple, it's functional, it has on there what it needs to have on there, but it's not going to be the best polished final copy until you're ready to do so. So one thing you can do as well, which doesn't involve going to the dollar store, is looking for old games which have cool components that you can then use in your own games. This is a game I picked up a little while ago from a Value Village or one of those thrift stores, and it was called Piratology. Now, the game itself wasn't anything fantastic. I didn't actually even play the game. I looked at it and it just didn't seem like a game I was interested in playing. But man, oh man, for $5, I am so happy I got this game. I gave all the ships to my brother, which he's using in another one of his games, but it also had all these plastic gold coins in it, which are absolutely fantastic, and I'm going to hold on for another game. Plus, it had these really kind of cool skull dice. Cool dice. I really like them, and maybe I could use these in a future game, I don't know, but for sure, I'm glad I had these because they make a really cool component for maybe another game that I own, or for a game that I'll design someday. But until then, happy that I have them. So maybe look to your old games and see ones that you're not playing, and is there components in that you might be able to use for your own game. One other thing you can do too with a little bit of creativity is, this is from the dollar store, is I was wanting to try out some tokens in my game. So rather than printing off a bunch of cardboard tokens or cutting out a bunch of circles and things, which would have been very time consuming, I went to the dollar store and I found these sports balls stickers. And they are all one size, so I've got my consistent size that I wanted. And so then on the back, I've labeled them as I need to label them, and I've made my own tokens. But for now, do what you got to do to make it work for you. When you're considering storage of your game, for the game that I've been making, I bought this, again, going to a local game store, like Cardboard Memories or LevelUp.ca, you're going to find you can get these game boxes, and these are specifically for cards. You can see I've done a lot of work on this game. These are all cards in here for different things, and these are little dividers to section off for different parts of the game. But it contains my game in one location. It keeps it all organized, it keeps it all together, it keeps it all safe. Because the last thing you want to be doing when you're developing your own game is to lose the pieces that you have, or to have them get damaged somehow because you didn't take care of them properly, and then you have to start over. That would just be absolutely heartbreaking. And another thing to look at is when people are, like especially if you're back at school, see if they have things that they're getting rid of, like foam core. Foam core is this stuff here. It's like a it's got paper on the outside, foam in the middle, and more paper on the other side. So it's like a foam sandwich. And it's the kind of thing you use for putting projects on and stuff like that. This was something that one of my colleagues at my school was throwing out. She was just going to throw it in the garbage. She was done with it. She was cleaning up her room, and I asked if I could keep it. She said sure, and now I've used it to create things I need for my game here. And again, just a prototype, but it serves its purpose, serves its function, and I didn't have to spend a cent on it. So be resourceful. Look for things around you that other people aren't using. I'm not saying dig through the garbage, but I'm saying look for those things which are out there and available, which people might be not wanting or disposing of, that you could then take and repurpose into something for your game where you don't have to spend any money on it. And finally, the last thing I'd like to talk about, and it's the last thing I talk about because it's probably the last thing you should be doing, and that is this stuff right here. This stuff is absolutely amazing. Model Magic. Now, I'm not getting paid by Crayola as a sponsor for this, and if they want to pay me Crayola, I'm more than happy to accept your money. But this stuff is great. It's like plasticine, but without the greasiness, without the mess, and it air hardens. Make these fantastic creations for your game, particularly if you're thinking about making the pieces for your game. This would be a fun way to do it. Well, that's going to be it for today's episode. If you have any questions about components you might be using for designing your own board game, or if anything to do with that, please leave me a message in the comment section below. If you have any other ideas for great topics for me to talk about on this channel, I would love to hear them. Again, message, comment section below. But until next time, I'm Craig Thompson with the Board Game Teacher saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back?